Today on For the Record,
I didn't even understand what a service dog could do for me.
a local organization aimed at providing service dogs for veterans.
I knew that within the first, I would say 2 days, I knew something was going to change in my life.
How they say the dogs have saved lives and how you can help them assist more men and women who have served our country. Plus,
our stump is patriotism, veterans, and community outreach.
a local group focused on honoring the American flag.
The forgotten flag can mean many things.
What the founder of the Forgotten Flag Foundation is saying about the importance of their mission. For the Record starts now. Welcome to For the Record. I'm Michelle Wright. And with Veterans Day approaching, today's episode focuses on those who served our country. All three of our guests today are veterans. We first want to talk about a group that's aimed at giving vets potentially life-saving help in the form of a service dog. I'm talking about life-changing service dogs for vets. This is Foxy, one of those dogs. And I start things off by speaking with her owner, U.S. Marine veteran Craig Hodgkins, who tells me he was experiencing multiple health issues and PTSD when Foxy came into his life.
I was averaging maybe an hour to 2 hours sleep a night. There was no way I could go back to sleep. And then because of the neurological issues, I started having issues with memory, and I wasn't recognizing people that I knew. The best man from my wedding, we went to meet him to eat dinner. He sat down at the table, I didn't recognize him at all. And these things brought me into that depression that well, I'm having trouble walking. I ended up with vertigo. I was falling all the time. Another thing, neurological. So I was falling. Felt like I couldn't take care of my family. I wasn't recognizing people. I wasn't sleeping, and that depression went into a deep, dark state. And I moved down into my basement, and that's where I drifted away from my wife, from my children, of course my children had since moved out, but I wasn't spending any time with them, no time with my grandchildren. And I cut down into that environment, and I felt like, one, it wasn't fair to my wife to have to deal with what I was going through. It wasn't fair to my children. It just wasn't fair to them. And I felt like I was not a good husband, dad, or grandfather, and that it was time that maybe I moved on. And I got that feeling where there was no help and it was time to take my own life. So I made a plan, and my plan was to drive into one of the three rivers and make it look like a car accident so that no one knew that I took my own life, so my kids and my wife didn't feel guilty that they didn't recognize where I was at and what was going on with me. And I was very, very fortunate because a doctor at the VA named Dr. Timbus had turned around and he said, "Craig, I'm worried about you." He said, "I can see you're at a very low level." And he recommended that I go out to meet with a guy out at a program at Animal Friends called Pets for Vets. And I went out there and I met with a gentleman named Eric. And Eric, after we sat down for an hour, he was I believe an Air Force veteran, pretty sure. And after an hour he says, "Craig," he says, you do not need a pet. You need a medical service dog. You need a service dog. This service dog can make a difference.
Had you ever considered that before?
No, I didn't even understand what a service dog could do for me. I knew that dogs were always great. I loved animals. I loved dogs growing up. I've always had dogs. I knew that, but I didn't know the meaning of what a service dog could do.
And you had a lot of issues going on between the water at Camp Lejeune that you drank for a few years. It was impacting you. The sarin gas when you were serving overseas was impacting you. And then the PTSD from combat.
Yes.
And so you had a lot of issues. Did you think that there would be something that could help you?
I really didn't. They had tried medications, and I'm one of those types that I don't like to be on a lot of meds. I just don't like doing it. I don't feel it's healthy, even though sometimes it does make you better, and I do take the medications they want me to take. But I didn't think there was any help. But then when you look what Life-Changing Service Dogs for Veterans did for me, with the training by Guardian Angels Medical Service Dogs. And what that change was, I knew that within the first, I would say 2 days, I knew something was going to change in my life.
Well, let's talk about when you met Foxy.
Okay.
How did that go?
Oh my God. It was one of the best things that happened to me in my life was, besides my children, and my grandchildren. But I mean, when I met her, it was just like, it was a very interesting situation. She knew me before I knew her.
What do you mean by that?
Well, part of the training was after I was vetted and they decided that I was going to get a service dog. And by the way, they run about $29,000 a service dog.
Did you know that? How can you afford something like that?
Because of Life-Changing Service Dogs for Veterans. That's what the organization does. They raise those funds so that a veteran or first responder doesn't pay for the cost of a service dog. But after I was vetted and so forth, I digressed a little bit. What I had to do was every time I had an event at home, whether it was vertigo, severe tremors, waking up from PTSD, whenever it happened, I had to take these cotton strips, these big ones, kind of like the ones used in dental, and I'd put them under my arms. I had to hold them there for 10 to 15 minutes, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them on dry ice, and ship them down to Florida. And in there, I'd write exactly the event that happened to me, whether it was a vertigo event, whether it was a falling event, whether it was waking up from PTSD, whether I was anxious or whether I was feeling severely depressed, whatever the case was, I would ship it down to them. And they were training her with those scents.
That's incredible.
So when I went to meet, because of COVID, because we were paired right around the COVID time, and Mercer County had given up, one of the hotels out there had given space especially for the veterans so that they could get their service dogs out there. And I was going into my room and a trainer was coming down the hall with her. And I said, "Oh, that's a beautiful service dog." Now I didn't know that I was going to be paired with her that evening. And as soon as I got close to her, I remember now that she just looked at me and started sniffing like she was coming towards me. Of course, I kept walking, and of course,
She recognized you.
She knew right away who I was. I didn't. But when we were paired, it was like the first thing that happened. She was her paws were right up here, and she was kissing me. I was sitting in a chair, and it was like, I knew something was going to start changing. There was just something about it. So the first thing they had us do that night was just go back to our rooms and just be with the dogs alone. And that night, I went to bed, and I had another night terror. And as I was having the night terror, all of a sudden, I feel this up against my face, real soft, and she's just licking my face, and she's waking me up. And what was really interesting about it, and so phenomenal, it was right when the dream was, the night terror was happening, beginning of it. So I didn't go through all of that up to the sweating and waking up. And the first thing that came to mind was, oh my God, I think I can go back to sleep. And I'm sorry, I'm starting to tear up a little bit because it gave me that, all of a sudden, knowing that, you know what, I think I can beat this thing. I think I can come back from this. I knew that immediately. That first night, I knew the changes were happening because of her. She just does these things all the time for me. It's constant.
Coming up on For the Record.
I truly didn't know what a dog was going to do for me.
The president of Life Changing Service Dogs for Veterans on how they got their start and how his time in Vietnam helped set him on this path. Welcome back to For the Record. As I continue my conversation with the people of Life Changing Service Dogs for Veterans, I bring in its president, Bill Jeffcoat, and learn more about how the organization got its start. You knew from your experience that other veterans were going through various issues, from way back at Vietnam all the way to today. How did you come up with the idea to start this group and provide dogs?
The group was started by two Vietnam veterans, a Air Force captain, George D'Angelo, and a Army lieutenant, Tony Accomendo. And they were attending a function sponsored by General Jones called Semper Fi Odyssey. And General Jones helps military men transition from military life to civilian life. And they saw a young Marine there with a dog. And in talking with this young Marine, he said the dog was trained by Guardian Angel Medical Service Dogs in Williston, Florida. Well, they were intrigued. And as a result, they flew down to Florida where they met with Carol Borden, who's the founder and CEO of Guardian Angel Medical Service Dogs. Carol took them on a tour of the campus. They observed some of the training exercises. And Carol told them that these dogs are trained to mitigate the visible and invisible disabilities facing our veterans. Post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, seizure disorders, insulin dependence, mobility issues, and/or combination. And at that time, the VA was reporting that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. Well, George and Tony came back to Pittsburgh and had veterans breakfast at Duquesne University. They decided to found this organization called Life Changing Service Dogs for Veterans. And their mission was to pair 22 veterans with 22 dogs in 22 months.
Did they do it?
Yes, and more.
I also asked Bill Jeffcoat about his time in Vietnam, where he was a canine handler, and asked what he would tell his younger self about the importance of a service dog.
I truly didn't know what a dog was going to do for me. And by going out and having this dog and being a combatant and being under fire, calling in for close air support so that we could retreat from being pinned down on three sides, and whoever I was working with, when I was walking point, and as these dogs would alert, and you would tell the patrol to hold up, these other Marines realized what a weapon. A human nose has 25 million scent receptors in it. A German Shepherd, 225 million. Tearing's almost 10 times greater than a human. And because of those capabilities, the NVA actually put bounties out on both the dog and the handler. If you were to kill a war dog and cut off its tattooed ear, it was $20,000. If you were to kill a handler, take a unit patch or a rank insignia, it was $10,000.
The dogs were more valuable.
Yes, yes. They estimate that without having these canine warriors in Vietnam, there would have been an additional 10,000 names on the Vietnam Memorial Wall.
Up next,
Our main mission is to raise patriotism.
we introduce you to the Forgotten Flag Foundation and learn how it celebrates Old Glory. Welcome back to For the Record. As Veterans Day approaches, we want to turn our attention now to a local group on a mission to make flag displays in the U.S. the best they can be. We want to welcome in Chris Stodd with the Forgotten Flag Foundation. You are the president of it and the founder.
Right.
Let's just start off with this. What is your mission and why is it so important?
Our mission is simple. This whole foundation started not by accident, but it was something I wanted to give back and leave a legacy when I leave this earth. I don't have any children, so it's very important that what's better than a flag to leave on this earth when I pass. But the mission of this foundation, it changes on a daily basis based on, we get events that we're called upon to do to take care of veterans and things like that. But our main mission is to raise patriotism, community outreach, and take care of veterans is our main mission. But again, it evolves on a daily basis, and we're starting to find that out. But we'd love to take care of the kids and get them involved educationally within the foundation. We partner with them. We call them patriots and ambassadors to the foundation. So, for instance, we had an event on Friday at Mount Prospect Cemetery. We restored over 400 graves sites for veterans and replaced flags, and had about 8 kids from Can Macmillan come out and help us just on a whim through their student outreach and their student government programs they have within the high school. So it was awesome to have them out there with us this weekend. But our main mission is to raise patriotism.
Why is it called the Forgotten Flag? I read that you said that there are fewer and fewer flags being displayed.
Right. So it's funny, whenever 9/11 happened, I was in the military at the time, and I was getting ready to get out. I had 2 more months. I was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, and 9/11 hit, and I was an aircraft crew chief, so I worked on Apaches. So we had aircraft on boats already to go to Beaumont, Texas to train in Egypt with a mission called Bright Star. So 9/11 hit, and I'm like, wow, what am I gonna do now? And I went in and I re-enlisted for 4 more years in hope to go overseas and take care of our nation and what needed to happen. But as far as that goes, the Forgotten Flag can mean many things. So for instance, the first dedication that we did, I woke up one morning and the leaves had just blown off the trees. And I saw an abandoned flagpole probably about 100 yards from me, a 90-foot flagpole. So they forgot to restore the flag. So you'll go down the road and I'll see that'd be a perfect spot for a flag. They forgot to put a flag there. Or it can also mean a veteran. They forgot about a veteran. So the flag doesn't only mean what it symbolizes for our country, but it means a lot of things as far as raising patriotism. And going back to that, I remember how we were united after 9/11 when all that happened. So America seemed to be so much closer, so much patriotism. But now that's starting to fall apart, and we're tearing ourselves up internally in the United States, and we're going to stop it. and that's a guarantee from the foundation. We're going to put a stop to that.
And your foundation is not political. You're
We are
not taking sides at all.
Absolutely not. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Our policy, and we have a disclaimer that we put up on a screen and I read to people before we start any kind of town hall event or a podcast. But the main tone that we like to have is politically neutral, and our stump is patriotism, veterans, and community outreach. And we partner with Democrats and Republicans, whoever wants to promote and have our same values. But we're so just exhausted from the rhetoric of the left and right and just back and forth. And we're trying to bring that to the middle politically neutral position where people are just talking about things that matter in this country and try to advance this country just needs to advance as one instead of being divided how we are today.
Why is it so important to go to all that trouble to recognize our veterans and the meaning of the flag?
It's simple. I think my heart goes out to Vietnam veterans, for one. They didn't have the proper return and appreciation for the job that they did for this country. I remember when I walked through airports, people would clap for me in uniform. Those guys had nothing but terrible experiences in this country coming home from that kind of dramatic warfare to this. And that's one of our many goals, but we want to take care of these Vietnam veterans especially and just repay them for all the duty that they did to their country and just the miserable things that they went through over there. And sometimes they don't want to talk about it, but I find when we bring them to those events, like a flag dedication, it puts a pep in their step, and it's a that a boy kind of pat on the butt that thank you again for what you did. We'll never forget you. And we'll never forget those veterans. And it's very important to take care of those guys and girls.
And ahead in just 2 minutes, a final thought from the head of the Forgotten Flag Foundation. Welcome back to For the Record. Before we go, one last word from Chris Stodd, president of the Forgotten Flag Foundation. Tell me what the flag means to you.
I can't tell you how many times that the flag that we dedicated has a 15 by 25 foot flag on it. I go up there daily and nightly and just sit there and listen to it just flow in the wind, the sound of it. And it brings back, there's a lot of emotions that go, I get upset with the country and the shape of the country's in right now. But at the same time, I take a lot of pride in what that flag stands for and what we have to do what we have to do now currently and what people have done in the past, have given their lives for that flag. And to see the way it's being treated now is very upsetting to me. And we're going to do what we are. We're going to make it. We're going to make a difference in this country and make that flag what it means to be years ago. And we're just going to bring it back to life. And that's our mission.
Such a powerful message as Veterans Day approaches this Tuesday. We have information about both organizations right now on our website, WTAE.com, and on the WTAE app under the For the Record tab. We'll see you next Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Have a good week.